Greg Patchell is the head of Immigration New Zealand and joins me now on the phone. Good evening. The Minister says he wasn't given the full picture. Did your department let him down?
That's a good question. If I could just give you a sense of the process which we need to follow in this situation. The key piece of information I gather the Minister is referring to is the court evidence in a transcript that wasn't put in front of the Minister that confirmed actually at Mr Sroubek's request to return to Czech Republic for business purposes. That information was in a court record that resulted in a conviction not being laid down. Therefore, it wasn't on the record of Mr Sroubek. So
yes, in terms of his crimes, I understand that. You didn't want to put in information in a file that was prejudicial. Correct. He had been acquitted. However, there was other useful information in those decisions which arguably the Minister should have had access to. For example, the request to travel back to Europe. Why didn't you give that to him? As
I said, the process we use means that court transcript is not put in front of a decision maker because of the prejudicial.
You could put extracts of it. Just include the information that is relevant and non-prejudicial. That he applied to travel home more than once.
That is not what occurs at this point in time.
So, did you fail him in that respect?
The process has been in place for a number of years and it's worked okay. And this situation has highlighted a scenario where perhaps that is the case. Hence, we're going to get an independent review undertaken to see whether that's something that could work and survive appeal, which is a relevant part of the questioning process.
The Minister has said that he asked additional questions about Mr Sroubek's travel, but you were unable to provide him with answers. Did you ask Mr Sroubek's lawyer? Did you ask Mr Sroubek directly if he had travelled home to Europe?
The process submits a questionnaire to the respondent, in this case Mr Sroubek, and the individual and their counsel can submit any information they like. They did not talk about any travel back to.
But you didn't specifically ask. But you didn't ask specifically that question.
No.
Okay. The other issue is his criminal record in the Czech Republic.
Yes.
Is there any information that you feel you should have put in here that you didn't? Because I noticed in the briefing to the Minister, yes, you informed him that Karel Sroubek was supposed to be serving a 54-month prison sentence. You outlined the crimes he had committed, the date of his conviction in the Czech Republic, and also the fact that he should have been currently serving that sentence. What did you miss out, do you think, around that?
Yeah, that's the summary information that goes into any of these particular files. Convictions that are laid down we can find for individuals anywhere in the world. What's happened subsequent to the original decision is the Minister's asked for a full investigation. I must add that preparation of the case file is not an investigation. I'll come back to that in a minute if you like. And that subsequent investigation went back and sought the detailed transcripts or summaries from the courts in the Czech Republic, which gave more veracity or background to those convictions. But the convictions, as stated, are the same. Yeah,
so the information was before the Minister in that briefing of his convictions, of his record in the Czech Republic, yes?
I believe you've seen the file, and that's the information that was presented to the Minister.
OK, so the Minister says that he wasn't informed that those criminal convictions in the Czech Republic of their own accord could be reason to issue a deportation notice against Karel Sroubek. Is that a mistake on immigration for not telling him that?
The case file that was presented one potential, one actual liability for deportation. They were the ones that came off the New Zealand-based convictions for the importation of drugs, and one for potential liability for the use of a false identity. Therefore, those convictions aren't directly relevant to those two reasons.
I understand that. I understand that the information before the Minister was to consider a particular issue about deportation liability. However, in the summary that you gave him was glaring information that indicated there was another reason that he could be deported. Is it on the Immigration Service to draw that to the Minister's attention or not? Whose responsibility is that?
Yeah, you could conclude that, yes, but in this situation that information wasn't relevant to the liability reasons put in front of the Minister at the time.
So to be clear, we could conclude that it was the Immigration Service's responsibility to draw that particular fact to the Minister's attention. Hey, by the way, this alone is enough to deport him on another order. You should have done that.
We could have done that if we had considered that to be relevant to deportation at the time, and it wasn't. It's relevant for a separate reason.
Yes, for a separate reason, but why not draw that separate reason to his attention? Isn't that critical information? You're considering whether this person is suitable to stay in New Zealand.
We're considering in that case file whether the individual is suitable to... Well, actually, in fact, in that case file, we're considering whether the individual should be granted ability to stay in New Zealand. So
ignore all other pertinent information?
They're already liable for deportation in the original case.
Right. So I'm just trying to establish why you would not draw something of that significance to the Minister's attention. That was a mistake, was it?
You could categorise it as a mistake. However, in that situation, I'll repeat again, the question being asked of the Minister was whether the person should be given residence and granted leave from deportation.
You sound like you're dancing on a pinhead here.
You could say that. But having said that, Mr. Antalik/Sroubek used his false identity to get access into New Zealand. That wasn't picked up at the time.
Okay. And just quickly before you go, are you going to review all the files where a minister has exercised their discretion? Are you going to look at all those files over how many years? No,
there's going to be a sample of files over the last 2 years, reviewed independently by Mike Hearing QC, plus the file in question to look at our processes to see whether we can improve them.
All right, thanks for joining us. That is Greg Patchell, who is the head of Immigration New Zealand there, speaking about the Sroubek case.